Welcome to the Mrs. Paintbrush. Today we're going to talk about painting up some 40K barricades for my gaming table. Alrighty, so welcome back. Alright, we're going to start off with this Aegis barricades. I'm starting off with stone from Badger Miniere. And, well, you can use any kind of gray, like any kind of mid-gray or darker gray. What you're doing is just going the base coat. And it's really super simple way to paint these up. At first, I thought maybe it might take a while. It might be a little bit difficult to be able to do, but it really wasn't. And with the project, what you're going to want to do is you're going to really start thinking about how to approach a project and how much detail you want to put into the project and how much time do you have to put the detail in the project. For me, when it comes to 40K terrain, it's not the star of the show. I don't want them to outshine my miniatures, and now those are the ones that are supposed to be showcased. So a pretty basic design that looks good and realistic is all that you really need. Alright, so next up I made myself a Sepia wash, and so it's a homemade wash. And what I did was I took inks and I took matte medium and some flow aid, and I threw it all into a container with some water and diluted it to taste. No, not really a scientific method of doing it, but I just did it until I put it on some kind of test miniature to see what it looks like. And this really does add a subtle amount of grime to it. It's not so overpronounced and it doesn't stain it too much, but it does really darken things down. Now when it comes to this wash, I apply it all over. And usually I'm not a proponent of doing that, but since I already have a nice base, I'm not really worried about it. Plus there's no highlights on it. The only thing about putting a wash all over everything is that you're gonna have to let it dry, and washes have a tendency of taking a very long time to dry. So just make sure it's fully dry before you move on to any other step. Now you can make your own wash. It's not really that difficult. You are going to need a container, or at least I want to have a container where I can put it in so I can always go back to it and reuse it. And this wash I created for specifically terrain. I didn't want to go from bottle to bottle of store-bought washes because that can get very expensive. So this is an inexpensive way in order to be able to grime down all your miniatures, all your terrain pieces or large areas. That's very cost effective. I don't know how much it would cost per se, but it's pennies on the dollar when it comes to comparing them to the full prices of washes like Seraphon Sepia from Citadel wash, which I do use that wash often with my miniatures because miniatures are pretty small, and well, it's not really a big deal to cover a large area, but with terrain, especially when you have a lot of terrain to do, well, it can get very, and I mean very expensive if you go that route. So when you're applying these, just make sure you liberally add them out and take off all the excess. You may want to put a mat down because it can get very dirty. Okay, so next up, time for the details. We're going to pick out each one of the rivets. I'm using pale burnt metal from Vallejo metal color, and it's really important that you pick out the rivets. Now, here's where you're going to want to spend some time to do this. This is like the really important part because people are going to look at little details. They do like to look at little details, especially if you're not going to go completely all the way and detail it with every little inch being award-winning painting style for each one of these barricades. But you do have to have some kind of visual interest, something for the eye to be drawn to, and picking out these rivets do the job perfectly. Alrighty, so next up, some Verdigris, and this is a simple part right here, Verdigris, and Verdigris from Vallejo Game Effects. And you can use any kind of weathering or anything that has this like light blue kind of verdigris style to it. I believe Citadel puts out one of those for weathering pigment and weathering paints, and you can get weathering paints. I like Vallejo. I bought their Game Effects line, so I really wanted to use it. And this is I used some flow aid with it as well because I kind of want to make it drip. And usually this doesn't drip, but you know, I don't think I've seen Verdigris drip so much more than rust, but I wanted to just add something different to this. This is like an off-world thing. Maybe it was exposed to some kind of, not acid, but some kind of other chemical in the 41st millennium that just doesn't exist in our century, so, or our millennium. So I wanted to just add that different flavor to it. Plus, you know, the blue coming down is a great contrast against the gray. When you have something gray, in and of itself, it's dull, it's boring, and it's in the background. People don't really notice too many gray, dull things. They like pops of color. So doing a spot color on something that's gray is absolutely amazing. Like, it'll just really exemplify or really drive home the point that you really want these things to really pop out on your gaming table. And speaking of gaming table, I'm doing segments of terrain because I'm trying to get my personal gaming table that I had built ready for battle reports and things like that. And I have been doing Shadespire battle reports, and a lot of people seem to be liking them, which I'm very happy about because it's not too difficult to actually film, but I'm actually getting great content, and I'm, you know, spending time with people in the community, which I love doing that. So having a 40K battle report, a lot of people are intimidated by that, but I think it would go all right. I would like to try quite a few. Plus, you know, I want to get better at the game, and, you know, having the convenience of a table, it's one of those things that you can just game whenever you really want to, or try something out that you really want to, and you have that access right there. So making it look nice for you guys, now that is a priority to me because that's the part of the hobby that I love the most, the painting, obviously, and making it like things come to life. What I'm doing here. Now look at those accents. I'm putting some verdigris on where I want to. Okay, so now I'm doing some steel, and I'm going to bring out these pieces before I do some verdigris drips on this because I wanted that verdigris drips to be on top of whatever I'm painting. That's going to be the last step. The weathering is usually the last step that you take when you're building a model, or when you're painting a model, or painting, in this case, terrain. So I'm just going to pick out the bits and really have that pale burnt metal. It's really shiny. And if you're not using Vallejo metal color for your metallics, I really highly recommend that you actually try it out. Just take one of the metals, because the metal flakes inside the Vallejo metal colors are so finely ground down that it just, I wouldn't say it's magic in a bottle, but it's the best out there when it comes to, you know, liquid, water-soluble paint or acrylic paint. There are more reflective and finely ground paints for enamels, but I just didn't want to work with enamels. Generally, for me, working with enamels on these type of miniatures are all a pain in the butt, and I really didn't want to go there. And you have to be careful with enamels and lacquers and stuff like that, because some of that stuff is can melt plastic, and I really didn't want to chance any of the miniatures being damaged by going that route. So if you're going to go acrylic and you're going to go metallic, I highly recommend Vallejo metal color if you don't use it already. Alright, so next up, what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the Verdigris, and we're going to that Game Effects, and I'm going to show you what I do when it comes to streaking now. Now I'm just taking some water, I'm getting the right consistency, you see it right there. I use my desk as a palette because I put on some newspapers, and what I'm doing is just getting straight lines, just going straight on down the road. And you want to clean that up. See how it pulled right there? You don't want that. That is not good. Okay. But you want it to pull a little bit, but you still want it to overwhelm. Just add some more here. Pull it right there. Come on down. Okay. And this streak right here. And this is all to taste, really. You're going to want to puddle it some places. I'm going to do another streak over here. And this is not, like, it doesn't have to be perfect at all. You just have some fun with it, kind of age it up a little bit. And you see how that blue, that light blue looks against that gray? Like, it starts really, really popping. I love it. It's something different too. There it is, dried. And now what I'm going to do is just really spot color. I really want these to pop out. So I'm just going to spot color with red. And red has one of those frequencies that truly just travel across the spectrum so easily. I'm just going to go through all of them, just hitting the dots of red. And look at that red and blue contrasting color. Now some another cool ones, because I want to get back to the cool. And I'm just this spot color. And this is a Escorpina green. I like Escorpina green. Great color. I like the way it pops. It's so very vibrant. And look at that. Look at how it just transforms that little, just those little dots. Really bring it to life. That dot. And there you go. And there it is with all the colors right there. Next I'm going to do some copper. Just adds a different metal to it. Adding some warm in there. And also having the contrast color, which really helps blend with the red on the button over there that I put. It's because, well, you know, 2 warms and 2 lights. It's still a cold piece, but it just has those spot highlight colors of the red, and it really looks great. I love it. I love it. Look at that. Foot for the gaming table, I gotta tell you. All right, so next up I have all these Verdigris, and we're gonna go in with them. I'm gonna create those streaks coming down from random ones, not all of them, random ones. You do it all and it's like washing everything. Love the gradient, love that going down. Look at that, just here and there, adding that spot of Verdigris, just saying things are weathered, and having little pooling, like drops were coming down from the top bolts and just coming right straight down, and it looks great. I love the way it looks. I mean, really coming out, really coming into its own. I could have done the Aquillas. I decided not to. If you're doing this, you can obviously do the Aquillas, but this also adds weathering, and this is a quick and really simple way to just bring life to your table. So if you have this set, and this is a very durable set, if you have this set, you can quite simply just, you know, throw it together and get it for the gaming table so you can have a great night of playing games. Well, we're coming close to the end of the video, and I hope you really like it. And I mean, I love it for what it's worth. Anyway, I'll catch you on the outro. See ya.
All right, with those barricades complete and the verdigris just dripping down, those barricades are ready for my gaming table. Well, if you like this video, like, share, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you next time on the Miniature's Paintbrush.